I'm outside the front of Notre Dame Cathedral. Fire crews telling me they could be fighting the blaze all this night. There have been a lot of riot police deployed on the streets today, 3,600 around the edges of the Champs-Élysées area, which has been a target of protesters. I'm going to step aside and just show you some of the scene at the moment. There's a fire burning there inside the Jardin des Tuileries, and there have been protesters throwing rocks at police, the police firing tear gas back. These were the most intense clashes between yellow vest protesters and police for several weeks. There were tense standoffs along the Champs-Élysées Avenue here. On this, the 18th consecutive weekend of protests, these clashes show there is still an anger simmering in France. Norris Trent for CNN in Paris.
Norris Trent joins me now live from Paris with more on this. And Catherine, I was quite surprised that these nationwide mayoral elections are still going ahead as planned despite the lockdown.
Yeah, that's right, Linda. We know that turnout in these local elections so far, as of midday French time, was down markedly. President Emmanuel Macron was out voting himself. He said people could still come out to do that if they respected the hygiene measures in place. But there's been a lot of controversy about his government's decision to maintain this first round of voting in local elections and not to delay it. A last-minute call from opposition politicians saying that the government should put this off in view of the new sweeping restrictions in place across France. Unlike most school children throughout Europe, these Swedish pupils haven't had to miss a day of class due to coronavirus. The public health authorities made a decision to keep schools open and stuck to it, even when the death rate was 10 times higher than in Sweden's Nordic neighbours.
Catherine, what's the mood like where you are?
A lot of people here in Nice are visibly still in shock, Delano. I've just spoken to one old lady who lives in this area of the city and heard noises from the attack this morning coming from the church of Notre Dame, the Basilica, which is just in the street behind me, behind this police cordon. And the lady I was speaking to, still trembling, tears in her eyes, saying she could hardly believe it had happened.
Catherine, thanks very much for joining us here on BBC News.
The authorities are treating this as a terrorist attack. The wheels have been put in motion legally, and this is being looked into by investigators for the anti-terror unit here in France.
Catherine, what's going on at the moment where you are? I can sort of hear the sound of what it's like being on a news assignment.
There are an awful lot of people here, a lot of disbelief, really, and also people coming down now to get a look at it because of midnight tonight. They're going to be in lockdown and being told to stay in their homes, but people still really digesting this attack at the moment and feeling, pretty traumatised. Nice has been the scene of major terror attacks before. This attack on a teacher who was decapitated in broad daylight, in public, outside his school, or near his school, that has really shocked the French public. They're crammed in with no food, water, life jackets or blankets. The migrants had risked it all to escape Libya.
But as the sun sets, they're being taken back to Tripoli, where they don't know what fate awaits them next.
They wait on the dock for over 3 hours. We're told migrants here often throw themselves back into the water to try and escape. Finally, at 11:30 p.m, Libya's immigration brigades decide to take the men away to overcrowded detention centres. And tensions mount. Carried from the wreckage of a flattened home. And crushing grief pours out onto the streets of Ganja, Azerbaijan's second city. Shock survivors tell us a missile hit their residential neighbourhood in the early hours of the morning. And as the bodies keep on being pulled out of the rubble, we can see the clear human cost of this strike. Huge questions are going to come in the coming hours and days about the diplomatic costs as well.
We've come to northeastern Nigeria, the birthplace of Boko Haram. The Nigerian army has managed to push back the jihadist group in recent years, but it still has terror cells throughout this region and carries out frequent suicide bomb attacks.
Catherine, tell us about the atmosphere where you are right now and tell us where you are.
Hi there, Mark. Yeah, I'm on the streets of Washington, D.C., just a couple of blocks away from the White House. And we've been talking about the security lockdown for this unprecedented inauguration. Well, here's what it looks like down on the streets. Let me show you. There is a military vehicle parked on the street corner, the road blocked off. This is the scene on pretty much every street corner around what is being termed the green zone in Washington, D.C., where the White House and Capitol Hill are situated.